Poet Perrin summed up these negative assessments of trains by coining their definition as machines for transporting people to death. Trains and train stations, therefore, were tuned to the tragic symbol of industrial progress, which went terribly wrong. Train voyage came to symbolize a moment of alienation of soldiers and officers from civilian life and normalcy. It was also portrayed as a dark rite of passage from life to death, when the soldier, using the comparison of Jules Romain, became, using his word, a prey of a road. Old lives, identities, memories, family hopes were thrown aside. Trains appeared to snatch men from their life to the trenches. At the same time, such negative portrayal of trains shunned attention away from the much more important question of responsibility for the war. There were many ambitions fueling imperialism, militarism, nationalism, and so on in the decades prior to the war. And the train taking soldiers to the battlefield were just the very last act of the drama of the war. The negative portrayal of the train, therefore, became a rather superficial cliché that really escaped the question of exploring who was responsible for this war. In the aftermath of the Great War, the railway network sought to highlight the great contribution which they had done for the victory. By publishing travel guides and posters advertising the truth to the battlefields, the managers of North and East emphasized different aspects of the activities of railway company during the Great War. The text of the guides accentuated the Northern and Eastern railway networks suffered the most serious losses, also because the army of the Central Powers captured vast territories in northern and eastern France. The Northern Railway Network encountered the most serious difficulties. German troops had obtained control over 1/4 of the territory of the region. In comparison with July 1914, the length of railway lines became significantly reduced, and according to one of the military official, Colonel Enough, due to the loss of territory in northern France, the North had in possession mostly small local lines that were not capable of sustaining traffic needs in northern France. And you can see that on the guides which were published by Réseau du Nord, that indeed the area on which the railway tracks were still not destroyed was drastically reduced. The bombardment of the Northern Railway Network by the Central Powers devastated railways and train stations. Moreover, when retreating, the armies of the Central Powers often disassembled or destroyed French railway lines. And even though such bombardment had limited effectiveness for the military purpose, such bombardment claimed the lives of the military and civilian population. In the cities in northern France, Arras, under heavy bombardment, railway employees were loading trains with coal and delivering such trains with much needed fuel to Paris. On the north, 217 railway workers were killed when carrying out their duties, and 400 people were wounded. As a recognition of their courage, 423 railway workers were decorated by the Cross of the Legion of Honor. Only with the attitude of the anxious pilgrim, in the word of the guide, could a traveler comprehend the tragedy of the Great War. The guide called on travelers to become emotionally involved with the experience of the journey, and not to act as curious spectators who would easily forget what they had seen during this tour. The tour revealed to many French the scale of the destruction, and the guide mentioned that few people were aware of the extent to which the region was devastated during the war. The guide encouraged women and children to undertake these voyages. During such tours, travelers learned about the great sacrifice to save France. The guide has suggested such a voyage struck the imagination of young visitors. Seeing cities ruined by shellfire and bombardment, children and teenagers could comprehend the courage of the French troops during the Great War. The voyage to the north also awakened a profound sense of pity. The trip could only fill travelers with deep compassion towards the residents of the city, once so rich and prosperous. Henry Bidoux, who had taken this tour, wrote that for hours the train voyagers could see only barren fields, destroyed canals and forests that were burned out in the course of the war. For Bidoux, the tour reveals the sad truth that the legacy of many centuries' work was destroyed. The opening pages also demanded that the Germans return or replace factory equipment looted during the retreat, because the German debt was within the board of the tour guide immense. The tour sought to commemorate the sacrifice made by the staff of French railway companies during the Great War. The history of railways during the war was a central theme in the tours and the narratives of travel guides. The text integrated a detailed account about the history of railways during and after the war. The guide unveils the story of remarkable courage to publish guide to the area of Northern Railway Network describes the amount of damage caused by the Germans and providing many dramatic photos which compare the impressive buildings before 1914 and the ruins left after the shell fire and bombardment during the war.